Well, good afternoon to those of you joining us in the UK and in Central Europe. There's a few joining us a little further to the east. Good evening. How are you? And those right the way over on the west, over in the US and over on the west coast of the US as well. It's an early start for some of you guys. Thanks a lot for joining us on this, the essential guide to Citrix CloudBridge, presented by myself, Al Taylor, one of the co-founders at cloudDNA. As usual, if you'd like to get in contact, my email address can be seen, al@clouddna.co. Our Twitter handle is worth keeping an eye on, especially as we're just about to launch into the most interesting time with the Citrix Cloud Networking Solutions, as it's the big annual conference, the Synergy event over in LA this next week. So there's going to be loads of news to keep an eye on. And similarly, have a look at netscalertaylor.com, my blog, where you'll be able to see more information about some of the topics covered today and some of the other bits and pieces that are hot news in other networking departments around the world. Okay, so today we're talking about Citrix CloudBridge. There's some confusion around the messaging here, so this is why we thought we'd throw one of these webinars up. As usual, if you like to reach out and speak to us, that's great. If you missed the live version, though, our YouTube channel will tell you all about both this and other webinars that we featured over the course of 2013. And of course, visit our website, cloudDNA.co, where you'll be able to see details of the forthcoming webinars. Again, lots of hot news coming soon. We can't say anything about it at the moment, but keep an eye out on there. Lots to talk about today, though, so let's have a look at this new messaging from Citrix CloudBridge. You might be familiar with a product that they have called CloudBridge from a little while ago. You might be familiar with the repeater and branch repeater solutions as well. So really, this is where we're coming from today. Citrix are starting to see how organizations of all sizes are trying to put these two different disparate technologies together and find a way to just make life easy so that we can deliver connectivity to all users, to all content, regardless of its origins. So CloudBridge comes along to cover a couple of different sort of use cases, but really it comes down to this same old principle. We're connecting users to data. In particular, though, with CloudBridge, where the gap is very large between the users and the data, through a WAN network, for example, or through very large environments on a global infrastructure basis, whether those be private clouds or public clouds, or as we're seeing a lot now, hybrid clouds, a mixture of both, using cloud computing for extra resource capabilities, but keeping all of our crown jewels on site. This all starts to get a little bit challenging as we're finding ways to manage the traffic around all of these environments. So in a typical environment, what we're seeing nowadays, is typical with our customers at cloudDNA, is the data center in the center of this huge infrastructure is now starting to creak at the seams a little bit. Larger branch offices with big bandwidth pipes going towards them as a wide area network, smaller branch offices, mobile workers, all wanting to get the best possible service. But also from an IT perspective, we need to make sure that everything's resilient. So there's a disaster recovery site, or perhaps that's just an additional global footprint site for your particular organization. And similarly, the cloud services piece running out the back there. Managing all of this traffic and keeping an eye on things, and really crucially, if you're the network guys, then making sure that there's sufficient capability across the whole environment that everybody gets the best possible service. It's really starting to get a bit tricky. Okay, so when you start to look at the effects of these things, congestion on the link, latency, because it's a very long way from the data center to that office, the overall effect is very, very simple. It's a slow performance. It's a missed SLA. It's somebody phoning up and saying, you know what, this super duper Zen desktop system that we put in was great when I was using it in head office, but now I'm out in the sticks over here in sunny Scunthorpe or somewhere similar. If you're not from the UK, look it up. It's a beautiful place. The small branch office guys are saying, this doesn't work like it's meant to do. And often it's down to the network for that. Okay, so Citrix have had this solution for a little while. Why not just add bandwidth? Well, if it's just congestion like a busy road, we can add more lanes, add bandwidth, and that'll help. But it's still just as far from point A to point B. And the latency, the round trip time, is going to be a bit of an issue then. We also have some problems with managing the traffic on there and ensuring that the right pieces get through at the right times. So although bandwidth is an issue and it's a consideration, WAN optimization takes it that next step forward, and many on the call today will be familiar with the concepts behind WAN optimization. And really, that's where we're coming at with this first part of the new CloudBridge messaging. For our mobile workers, we have a little client license available for their endpoint. For the larger branch offices, some larger appliances, and smaller or even virtual appliances for those small branch offices. Very simply, what it allows us to do is take control of what's happening on that network, manage the expectations of our users, and hit the SLAs that are defined for our business or our organization. The issues are always the same, though. We've still got to make sure that everything happens, and we've got to squeeze as much as we can out of this potential investment of ours. So the speed at which content is delivered to our end users, this piece in the center here is the Zen Desktop and XenApp icons, if you're not familiar. And these are pretty much worst case scenario environments as well. The basic rule of thumb is the bigger the problem or the slower the performance in the first place, the better the performance benefits will be. But take a look at those bandwidth savings as well, where we're trying to squeeze more and more users through these pipes that go between our offices and data centers, or indeed we're trying to squeeze more content for those users. Suddenly we need to give everybody training videos. Keep an eye out for CloudBridge 7 release for a little bit more information about video support. But ultimately, as we're trying to squeeze more and more content through these things, saving the bandwidth, reducing the amount of bandwidth consumed is a really, really key feature. Keep that in mind as we step on through some more of these slides. So Citrix CloudBridge as a standalone product gives us superb traffic management with visibility and control over that bandwidth, as we've said. Massive scale to support the highest number of HDX sessions. HDX, if you're not familiar, this is the protocol that sits behind Zen Desktop. So again, if Zen Desktop delivery and you care about the service of your Zen Desktop environment, make sure you have a look at CloudBridge. There's some compelling reasons to migrate from other vendors, and certainly make sure you cut through the FUD before you break into your bank account and start paying other vendors. It's a really, really strong solution around there. And ultimately, don't forget as well that CloudBridge is not just designed for Zen Desktop and XenApp and Citrix traffic. CloudBridge supports over 500 different apps and services. They're all classified straight off the box. So we can apply the right levels of acceleration and the right levels of priority to a whole vast range of componentry within that network stream. That could just be the MAPI traffic for Outlook gets priority because of the way your organization uses email, or it could be that the CIFS traffic does so that you can move common internet files around the system. Whatever floats your boat, whatever you need for your environment, giving you that capability to manage it is really, really key for a lot of organizations, and that's why they've migrated over to CloudBridge. But ultimately, enhancing that VDI experience with user-centric prioritization of virtual desktops is a really key unique from Citrix. We can take those granular prioritization policies and not just say Citrix traffic gets priority over X, Y, Z on the network. We can get inside that Citrix traffic stream and understand where that content is destined. So we can say for the San Francisco guys, they're far too busy being cool and relaxing in the sunshine. So we'll give them low priority because they don't need much speed. But if the guys over in Beijing are working super hard at the moment to get a new product to market, we can give their service priority to make sure they get the best possible performance because they're costing us a lot of money right now. Now we can step that down again and say, well, rather than just looking at Zen Desktop and saying everybody gets the same, those executives who sign the prices off and say, yes, you can have the budget, well, we'll give them super duper priority because we want to make sure that the budget conversations go well next time. So let's show them where the money's gone. Similarly, with the employee side of things, we might say, okay, well, we'll just limit the potential on their service just to ensure that we get the right amount of content to the right people. I'm sure you get the message. But being able to differentiate between users, between locations, between application types and protocols, and the ICA priority tags, we can really start to define what our service is going to look like. We're not just taking a big old lump of traffic and says that gets a bit of priority over everyone else. We're really getting inside that granularly and understanding exactly how we're going to deliver that content out is a really, really good feature to look into because of the traffic management and ultimately the reporting capabilities of this platform as well. Lots going on today. So if we've managed to take care of those guys that are out in the front, CloudBridge Connector is the new name for the product that was formerly known as CloudBridge. Okay, so in the data center, we have a device. And in our disaster recovery, we'll have one there as well. It's a Citrix solution. And similarly, for the cloud services providers, if you're using a third-party location for colo or for additional capacity, Then CloudBridge Connector gives us a very simple way to provide a secure, seamless, and optimized, transparent mechanism to be able to extend our data centers out into the cloud, to extend them, not just to bolt them on. So the whole thing being seamless is a real key feature for many of the CloudBridge customers today. Okay, so let's just have a look at this in a little bit more depth. CloudBridge Connector effectively comprises of 2 or 3 key components. First and foremost, we use GRE protocol in a layer 2 tunnel. Does that mean anything to you? If not, don't worry. What it basically says is the generic routing encapsulation protocol allows us to take those kind of protocols or languages that don't travel particularly well and kind of wrap them up in a bundle to be able to package them so that they can move across the networks. Layer 2 right at the bottom of the network stack, very, very quick way of achieving that. To make sure it's secure, we wrap it in a VPN, so we secure the whole traffic and ensure that all of that content that we're moving between our service and the cloud provider's service remains in our intellectual property and remains out of the public domain. And then ultimately, to ensure the speed is there, we apply WAN optimization. Now you can probably see where the synergy comes from the CloudBridge product and the CloudBridge connector. CloudBridge connector uses CloudBridge, formerly known as the repeater and branch repeater solutions, and it uses those to provide the optimization. Now, in some networks, it's not really that necessary. If you're very, very close, sometimes you might be better off without because of the latency that can be added by a WAN optimization solution. So again, it's important to make sure that when you're looking at these types of solutions, you talk to a consultancy practice who really understand it and have been there and seen it and done it. And certainly with ourselves at cloudDNA, that's all we do. We only look after the Citrix cloud networking portfolio. And so we like to think that we've got a good experience in that, which we'll happily share with our customers throughout the globe. Perfect. Okay, so how does this all stack up then? Well, Citrix CloudBridge as a WAN optimization solution is available in a range of platforms. Right at the very bottom there, you'll see the virtual appliance, and the clue's in the question. It sits on your own infrastructure. It's currently supported by the main hypervisor providers, obviously the VMware guys, the Citrix guys, and there's a bit of Microsoft in the back there as well. Interestingly, though, if you opt for that Xen Desktop Platinum Edition, that CloudBridge VPX appliance is included in there. And again, if you'd like more information, you can get in contact, Al at clouddna.co, and we'll fill in the blanks for you. Lots to talk about, though, today, so let's move on. CloudBridge 600 appliances. Well, this is like the old branch repeater entry device. And the CloudBridge 700 devices, well, that's the old branch repeater with a Windows server built into it. So where are we going with that? Very simply, 1 megabits, 2 megabits, or 10 megabits throughput in your branch office between 0 and 100 seats in terms of the number of users of Xen Desktop or XenApp, then this entry-level CloudBridge device will be great for you. If we move up the scale, though, and we need a bit more capability, then those smaller enterprise data centers or the larger branch offices with 100 to 300 seats in there, between 10 and 50 megabits of traffic. CloudBridge 2000 is a new platform which has recently been released, and that will provide a flexible method of delivering that content. But again, the license key will determine whether that's a 10 or a 50 megabit throughput device. So the solution can grow with you if you need to increase that capacity as time moves on. CloudBridge 3000, similarly, 4000 and 5000 have greater capacities. And the 5000 right up there is a 2 gigabit throughput device, which will handle 5,000 simultaneous Xen Desktop users sessions, all being delivered out to various parts of the globe. This is huge scalability, but clearly there are customers out there who have that many seats. And so Citrix designed the technologies and incorporate them in to ensure that those customers' needs are looked after. There are uniques here, again, just to reference this, that if you're using Xen Desktop and you're using WAN optimization, I strongly advise that you look at this CloudBridge solution because there are unique capabilities that you cannot do anywhere else. Any other vendor tries to tell you otherwise, come and have a chat with me and I'll fill in the blanks. Oh, and don't forget the plugin for Windows as well. So those roaming workers who are out in the field, there's rumors there's one for Mac on the way. But those roaming workers will be able to support their sessions to ensure that their session runs very quickly, even over 3G networks or 4G as the time comes when we can all use them on a daily basis. Okay, so that's the WAN optimization piece taken care of. So CloudBridge Connector, that's the bit that does the backdoor to connect the data center through to the cloud. So let's have a little look at that. Very simply, standalone appliances that only offer the CloudBridge service, well, they're available as virtual appliances or as the MPX hardware platform, which they borrow from Netscaler. So if you need a little bit more functionality than just the CloudBridge, and personally, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't just go for the Netscaler Platinum Edition. Whether it's an MPX, a VPX, or the big high-performance SDX platforms, it's possible that any Netscaler Platinum Edition can be used as a CloudBridge connector. So ultimately, having all of that functionality that we've spoken about in these previous slides on top of that Netscaler functionality makes that whole platform very compelling. But ultimately out the back of there, though, it's also possible now to use these in the cloud today. So Azure are the latest guys to come to the party. AWS were there fairly early on, and SoftLayer too. These providers already have CloudBridge Connector available for you to use as a virtual image straight after this webinar. If Azure are giving you the best service or the best pricing against your defined SLAs, go for them. If you need to move that round to Amazon because they suddenly come up with a deal that looks compelling, or SoftLayer for that matter, being able to migrate your workloads around those who give you the best service or the best performance or the best cost with a seamless amount of ease, there's a certain amount of compelling reason behind that as well. It's really started to get this method of connecting everybody together. And with these larger CloudBridge devices, the WAN optimization devices, because they run loads more computational power than just the WAN optimization needs, then we can combine the functionality of both the WAN optimization piece and the CloudBridge connector into one physical platform. This could be for your data center, or in a very large office, we could effectively port our cloud traffic directly into that office and bypass the corporate data center, simply delivering the virtual desktops and virtual applications from there in the normal method. There's quite a lot of practical ways that this can be used. And again, we're more than happy to fill the blanks in for you. But when we take those WAN optimization pieces, add the CloudBridge connector to give secure connections to third-party clouds, Citrix CloudBridge as a product family is starting to look very interesting for a lot of organizations. And we'd happily have a conversation with you about how it can integrate into your own environment. Being able to provide all this out the same Netscaler platform, SDX or MPX or otherwise, really starts to extend that conversation beyond just those little silos of the network guy and the app guy and so on. It really starts to understand how Netscaler truly is the world's most advanced cloud network platform. As usual, if you'd like to have a look into any more details, visit our website, clouddna.co, have a look at my blog, netscalertailor.com, or please get in contact. We'd love your feedback. And if you'd like any particular features examining in detail in one of our brief Essential Guide webinars, al at clouddna.co, it's always great to hear from you. If there's any further bits and pieces, though, to keep an eye on, I would strongly suggest that keep a look at our Twitter handle at cloudDNA over the course of the next 6 to 10 days if you're watching this live. You'll find there's some very, very interesting messaging coming out of the States at the Synergy event. But for today, to wrap up, thanks a lot for your time. It'll be great to hear from you. Enjoy the rest of your day.